Hi! So I know that generative AI is not for everyone when it comes to music production, but I'm still quite fascinated by it myself, and I just consider it as one more tool, basically. Now, I've used AI generated tracks on this channel before, just because they're copyright free and I can basically do with them what I want. And my tool of choice for this is Suno AI, which I feel just generates the best AI songs out there. But it had been a while since I actually used it, at least 3-4 months or so. So I recently had a look again and wow, they actually added a feature that I think as a producer we were all waiting for, which is being able to download full stems from the songs that we generate. So let's find out how good it is and what we can use it for. And let's go! Now, the new stem separation on Suno AI is only part of the new features that were introduced recently. And in this video, I won't have the time to dive into all of them. But while we're here, let's have a short look. Yeah, so this is the Suno AI platform on which I have a paid account. So this video is not sponsored. I'm paying for the subscription myself. And by the way, if you want to see a more basic video on the Suno AI platform, I'll put one in the description below so you can check it out. But the new features are immediately announced here on the front page. A whole new level of creative control. One of them being the stem separation, which we'll dive into in a bit more detail in a minute. So you can extract any sound of a generated track with precision, split your track in up to 12 clean stems, vocals, drums, bass and more, ready to preview and download. Now, another new feature is the new song editor, which allows you to edit your songs, make any edit you can imagine, reorder, rewrite and remake your track section by section. And that's a pretty fancy one as well. And the third one is that you can have extended uploads. So you can upload a full song up to 8 minutes and start creating from your own audio, whether it's a complete track or a single riff. And by the way, if you want me to make a video on any of the other features apart from stem separation, let me know in the comments and I'll check it out with you in much more detail. Now, as for the stem separation feature, this all started for me by getting reacquainted with the Suno AI platform and trying to generate another song. In this case, I had the lyrics generated prior via ChatGPT, because you just have a bit more control. You can basically give it a whole story and then it will write lyrics for you on that subject or on that story. So I already generated the song, but I basically put the lyrics into the lyrics section over here, put the style in. I think I left these advanced options to their defaults and put in the song title. And then generated the song not mind to mend. As you can see, I tried 9 generations with the various algorithms, because you have 4.5 over here, which is also the new algorithm, with smarter prompts, better genre mashups, faster generations, maximum 8 minutes. I also tried some with version 4, which improved vocal quality with a maximum song length of 4 minutes. And in general, actually, I thought that the audio quality of the version 4 generations were better than the version 4.5s. But in the end, I liked this version of the song best, not mind to mend version 8, generated by the new algorithm. So let's have a quick listen here.
She looks in the mirror, but turns away, blaming the light for the shadows that stay. I come with my heart in a trembling hand, but love can't bloom in broken land.
Let's listen to some other sections here. Yeah, you get the picture, right? Now, in order to generate stems from this song, you can go over here and you can say get stems, and then you can choose between either the vocal and an instrumental stem, which was already available previously, but in this case you can also say get all detected stems. And this option is also available if you go to the song editor first. So let's do that. And over here you can see that you can split up the song and then edit those parts, replace them, change the tempo of the song, etc. But on the top right here, you can also see that you can do stem separation from here. So let's click on that part. And for me, you can see that it now immediately shows all stems, because I did this before for this song. But if you haven't separated the stems yet, it will tell you that this will cost you 50 credits, where normally generating a song costs 10 credits on Suno. So it's 5 times as much as generating a full song. So you probably don't want to do this with all the songs that you generate, but only with the ones that you want to work further on in your DAW. But like I said, for this song, I did this before already. And then it generates 2 versions of the stems. Not exactly sure what the difference is, but there is a difference. We'll listen to it later. And for my song, it generated stems for lead vocals, background vocals, drums, bass, guitar, percussion, synth, and other. Now you can also solo the stems.
She looks in the mirror, but turns away, blaming the light for the shadows that stay.
Or you can also listen to everything except certain parts, for example without the vocals. You can also choose to regenerate the stems again, but that will cost you another 50 credits. And over here you can set the format in which you want to download the stems, either WAV files or MP3s. Of course I want to download full quality WAV files. And then you can select download all to actually download these stems to your device. Now the stems are downloaded into zip files, and I downloaded both versions over here and then renamed them, because normally the zip file is just named after the song title and stems behind it. And if you unzip the file, you basically get WAV files like this. You can see over here that it generates WAV files with sample rate 48 kHz and sample size is 16-bit. Now next up, I imported these stems into a Cubase project. But before we take a look at that, if you like this video or find it useful at all, please give it a big thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm so that it gets shown to more people. Subscribe to the channel and ring the little bell icon so you get notified when I publish another video. If you're really enjoying this channel, you can consider using the super thanks button below the video, which is kind of a virtual tip jar. Or maybe even better, if you are planning to buy anything at one of these online stores. I have affiliate links in the description down below, and if you click the link to the appropriate store and then make a purchase, I will get a small commission of whatever you buy at that store without any additional cost to you, which really helps out the channel and is much appreciated. Well, let's take a look and have a listen at these stems in Cubase. So I've imported the original track again as a WAV file.
She looks in the mirror but turns away, blaming the light for the shadows that stay.
And these are the version 1 stems all together, and I've grouped them so I can easily switch between the full track and the version consisting of the stems. So let's first see if we can hear a difference and maybe go to part of the track which is a bit more full. Now you can probably already hear that the stems do not exactly add up to the full track, but we can even prove that if we, for example, take the full WAV file fully out of phase, and if we then turn these on together with all the stems, then we would obviously expect there to be silence if the stems and the full track are the same. And by the way, I have everything at exactly the same volume, so let's have a listen. So you can hear that there's still quite a bit of audio, so there's still quite a bit of difference. Now let's listen again to some of the original stems to get an idea of what they sound like.
She looks in the mirror but turns away, blaming the light for the shadows that stay.
Now that actually sounds very good, but obviously in the beginning there's only a muted guitar under the vocal. So let's go to a more busy section again over here.
My job to fix the pain, not my cross to bear in the rain. I tried to hold.
Still pretty good, but you can hear that there's still a bit of artifacting, of course. Let's listen to some of the other stems. Yeah, and as for the synths, in the beginning here there's clearly a muted guitar under the track, but somehow it put everything in the synth stem over here. There's some effects here. There's a percussion stem. And the drums. Well, that's actually also a pretty good and clean stem, if I say so myself. But obviously, if you're listening to these stems, they are not as good as if you had recorded the individual parts, right? It's really just trying to separate the elements from the original stereo file. It's unfortunately not the case that Suno has all of these parts available separately. I think they're generated all together in the stereo file, and then it uses traditional stem separation to get the individual parts. But there's quite a lot of them, and the quality is pretty good. I will compare them to the stem separation of SpectraLayers 11 in a minute, so hang in there. But let's first maybe have a listen to the differences between the version 1 and version 2 stems of Suno. So this is the original, these are the version 1 stems, and these are the version 2 stems. Let's switch between them. Yeah, somehow those version 1 stems seem to have more low end in them, and the version 2 stems sound a bit more tiny. And the funny thing is, in the version 2 stems, if you listen to the guitar stem again, for example, you can see that it has identified that initial part as a guitar part, where in the version 1 stems, it was actually in the synth stem. Yeah, so in this respect, the version 2 stem is actually more accurate in detecting the correct instrument. But you can also mix and match, of course, if that sounds better to you. Now, like I already mentioned, I also separated the stems with SpectraLayers. And I used SpectraLayers Pro 11 for that, in which you can basically go modules, unmix song, and then you can specify which layers you want to extract. So I basically just selected all of them, and I used the extreme quality, which is the highest stem separation quality. And I think this song took about 10 minutes to separate actually, so it really did its very best to get the optimum quality of stems. And in general, I think SpectraLayers at the moment is one of the best when it comes to stem separation. So let's see how they sound. Because I also imported them into Cubase. Now, as you can see, SpectraLayers separated 7 stems and Suno did 8. So let's first have a listen to all stems coming out of SpectraLayers.
She looks in the mirror but turns away, blaming the light for the shadows that stay. I come with my heart in a trembling hand. A job to fix the pain, not my cross to bear in the rain. I tried to hold her, tried to stay, but love shouldn't ask you to fade away.
Now in this case, if you thought you just heard a difference between the stereo wave and the SpectraLayers stems, I think you're kidding yourself, because SpectraLayers actually does perfect separation, meaning that all the stems add up to exactly the same audio. But I can also prove that if we phase invert the original stereo wave file again, for example, and play them at the same time, you will hear the difference between the tracks. And as you can see, total silence, so they are exactly the same. Now let's compare the SpectraLayers stems to the Suno stems, see which ones are better. And let's take version 2 of Suno, because that seemed to be the more accurate, at least in regards to identifying the instruments. Start with the vocal.
A job to fix the pain, not my cross to bear in the rain. I tried to hold her, tried to stay, but love shouldn't ask you to fade away. She saw a mirror, not a man.
Wow, well actually the Suno vocal stem sounds much better than the SpectraLayers vocal stem to me. Less artifacts, more clear. Let's have a listen at the other instruments. Now I don't get backing vocals from SpectraLayers, so that may be part of the difference. Let's listen to the guitar. Let's try that part in the beginning. Again, I feel the Suno stem is way better. Let's listen to some of the other ones. Perhaps the bass guitar. Yeah, I feel the bass guitar stem of Suno contains more other stuff, where the SpectraLayers stem contains less other stuff and really more of the low frequency bass guitar. But in the Suno stem, I kind of hear that the bass guitar is plucked aggressively with a pick, which I do not get from the SpectraLayers stem at all. Let's have another listen. Yeah, I think I still like the Suno stem better here. Let's listen to the drums. Yeah, clearly the Suno stem is much better again over here with less artifacts. So I don't know whether they have just developed a stem separation algorithm which is better than the one in SpectraLayers, or maybe they still have a bit of an upper hand because they actually generate the music themselves and they have another way to separate the parts. In any case, I think that the stem separation that Suno does is much better than the stem separation that you can do with an external tool like SpectraLayers here, for example. But I'm curious whether you guys maybe did stem separation with another tool and that gave better results. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this. Now all this stem separation is good and well, but what can you now do with these stems, because they are still not as good as having individually recorded parts, for example. Although in the long run I think the AI music generation will actually go in that direction, where you can just take out the guitar part and tell it to generate another guitar part, for example, sounding almost the same as if you had recorded the guitar part yourself. But with the current state of affairs, what can you do with these stems? Well, you can remix them, of course, if you don't like the balance in the original track, or maybe you feel there is a bit too much bass somewhere, because I do think the 4.5 algorithm of Suno sounds a bit muddy here and there. You could clean it up in your DAW, for example. Do some additional processing, maybe some extra delays here and there. If you really don't like a part, you can fully re-record it and mix it with the original stems. Or maybe you want to add parts to the song and then rebalance them with the stems that Suno provided. All of that is possible. And the most extreme case is, of course, if you replace all the stems that Suno generated and just take the song that it made for you and completely reproduce it with new parts, and maybe some parts based on the stems that Suno provided to you. Because now you can at least listen in a bit more detail to the individual instruments compared to only having the stereo file. And if you have some other ideas about how to use these stems, let me know in the comments as well. I'm very curious if you have some nice creative ideas for this. Now, this was my short look at the new full stem separation in Suno. I already made a couple of videos on Suno before, and one of them is how it can kickstart your music production, and I'll link that video over here. So check it out, enjoy, and see you soon.